50 billion files in OneDrive. Absolutely tremendous growth. We're seeing 300% year-over-year growth. This is my Star Wars New Hope Carillion Cruiser opening slide. I figure you guys will appreciate that. We have released over 100 new features and functionality to OneDrive since Ignite last year. How do you feel about that? But here's the cool part. User voice. 43 of those features came from your comments, your suggestions, your input into user voice. You folks are a super important part of the development of OneDrive. 43 user voice items, that's 42,000 votes from about 18,000 users. And of course, we are proud to announce that the #1 most requested feature in user voice was Files on Demand, which will be delivered to you on October 17th. So, start talking about what's new. Jason, why don't you take this one?
Sure. So Stephen mentioned Files on Demand as our top user voice request coming. We did the survey. I think maybe 10% of you have tried Files on Demand in the Windows Insider program. Thank you so much for doing that. That's a big help for us getting it right. For those of you who haven't tried Files on Demand, essentially it takes the world's most powerful file manager, File Explorer, and enables it to work against all of your files in OneDrive and SharePoint. And it does that without requiring you to sync and download every one of those files to your machine. If you're like me, you have access to terabytes and terabytes of team sites, and probably have something close to that in your OneDrive. With Files on Demand, you can work with all of those files without necessarily having to sync and take them offline. But at the same time, if you choose to do that, it's available to you, and you can take those files with you wherever you go. Next, we're bringing Document IRM Sync to OneDrive. Today, you've got to use our older client to be able to sync those document libraries that have IRM enabled. Now you'll be able to use a single sync client for all of your cloud files, whether they're in a SharePoint team site or in OneDrive. Hopefully that simplifies deployments and raises your overall reliability. One of the critical features that we've continued to hear about from those of you that run organizations that span the globe is the challenge when you're posed where to put your OneDrive. Today you have to make a single decision for all of your users and where in the world those OneDrives should live. This has a lot of impact, particularly if there's regional complications around how you manage policy and enforce it. Now with our multi-geo capabilities, which we'll have sessions on Wednesday and Thursday about, you can dig in deeper and decide for every single individual user where the right place for their OneDrive is based on your business. And I know a lot of you have talked about the idea of being able to have your own customer key that lets you be in control of all the encryption we do for the content in the service. Today, your content is encrypted when it's in transit and at rest. With our new service level encryption customer key, you'll be able to also own the master key to that and decide when and how it's available. And for those of you that have deployed the sync client, you know that sometimes it can be a little bit rougher than it needs to be. You get prompts for users to sign in and do work with it. With our new automatic configuration, you'll be able to automatically sign your users in, set up their OneDrive without any interaction from them at all. It should speed up deployments and simplify the experience for users tremendously. All right. So I talked a little bit about some of the other things coming in terms of overall administrative experiences, but we're not forgetting about more of the detailed user experiences that the actual productivity users in your organization need. We deployed a new sharing experience this summer across OneDrive, Office.com, and the OneDrive Sync clients on PC and Mac. And that's a new single experience that gives you simple user experience in terms of sharing and enforcement of policy. Well, one of the big things that we hear from you now is about making sure I understand when and how my stuff is shared. Of course, all your files are private by default in OneDrive, but the ability to know when something's shared and who it's shared with turns out to be very critical, especially in an organization where it's managing sensitive information. So you'll see a little bit later in the demo Raphael will do that we've enabled you to see that in a much simpler way, so any user can know when things are shared and who they're available to. On Fast Track, many of our largest organizations have been able to take advantage of this ability to migrate much easier and simpler to the Office 365 cloud. But it hasn't been available to everyone. So we're proud to announce the self-service migration kit. This enables all of you to be able to plan and execute your own migration to the Office 365 cloud. And you can do it on your time in the way that makes best sense for your business. And I know not everyone is ready to move all of their data into the cloud. That's okay. In addition to our iOS app, we're bringing support to on-premises to our Android and Windows apps, meaning that every mobile experience for OneDrive will be able to browse both your cloud content and your on-prem content in the same consistent way. As you make transitions to the cloud, this will simplify the user experience and mean that there's less disruption in taking that step. And of course, something you've probably heard a lot about this week, and you'll certainly hear about more from us, is on the simplification and improvements coming to the Office editing and reviewing experience on the web. In these apps, so much work is done today that it's kind of mind-boggling to think that, less than a decade ago, we didn't have them. But they're not as simple and fast enough to get into and be collaborative as they can be. So we're bringing improvements to OneDrive and SharePoint that will speed that up. Fewer clicks and less time to be productive. And I imagine that many of you are taking pictures of receipts while you're at this conference. Actually, I'm just curious, how many people are actually literally taking pictures of their receipts? And how many of you are uploading them to OneDrive? Okay, quite a few. So one of the things that we've announced this morning is that we're bringing photo intelligence to those files in the cloud, meaning we'll do optical character recognition on every photo you upload. And so that data will get extracted and put into metadata you can access later. It makes you much more productive with those things, and in my case, it'll be easier to fill out my expense report. When we talk about collaboration, we think a lot about the sharer experience. What are the options and tools they have? How can they quickly and easily get to it? But a critical part of it is the receptive experience. When I get something shared to me, how do I actually access that? We're adding a capability for desktop sharing notifications on PC and Mac. And what this means is that when someone shares a file with you, you'll get a notification right where you are. With a single click, you can be into that document to view and comment or to collaborate directly with the author. And on that sharing experience that we've talked about being in the OneDrive sync clients, on the web, in the Office web apps, is also coming to Office on the desktop. That means that as you're working on your PowerPoint, Word document, your Excel document, you'll be able to share directly in line. You get the same experience and the same consistent UI and the same policy enforcement across those. And that means you can stay more productive in the moment and spend less time switching between apps and finding other places to be productive. My favorite feature that we're talking about today is actually zip file support. It's a small one in the grand scheme, but it's so cool. Today, if you work with a zip file, you have to download it and then open it and then pull out the file that you wanted out of the 15 million files someone put in there. With our zip file support, you'll be able to browse directly into zip files and pick only the files that you want to download and grab. It speeds up working with a zip file in a pretty amazing way, and it kind of adds a new level of those old files that maybe we used a lot more in an attachment world. And
you can clap. Yeah. That's a good one.
For those of you that are deploying Sync on the Mac, today we have two options. There's the Apple App Store, and of course our standalone Sync client we announced at last Ignite. We're adding one more option to simplify your deployments and make it easier to get this set up with your users. And that's the Office package coming with OneDrive Sync. When you deploy Word, Excel, and PowerPoint to your Mac users, you'll also get the Sync client laid down and be able to set that up for your users. It should improve the deployment times and make it that much easier to make a device productive.
So before we announce our next feature, I do want to say every single one of those features will be in the product by the end of this year. This is not something we're talking a year from now. By December, every single one of those features you're going to have on your own devices. Yeah. And finally, coming next year, so that's why I wanted a little break, we'll have on-premise support for OneDrive Sync Client with the SharePoint 2019 that we announced in Jeff's session just a few minutes ago. Yeah. But wait.
There's more.
There is always more. The Microsoft 365 powered device. We saw this week a lot of folks start to talk about this. The taking of Windows Autopilot, the taking of Exchange Online and Office so that everything that's important to a user is there. And from a mail standpoint, and now support for auto config of OneDrive with ADOL so that when a user logs in, they're automatically configured. So We have a great session with Tony East tomorrow. For those of you attending Michael Niehouse's session, you will be seeing this as well. But I work with Michael, and we put together a video of this so we can kind of walk through it and show it to you. So the goal here is you have a user in Nebraska. My laptop just fell in a pool. Okay, no problem. Normally, you'd have to go out, you'd have to F12 boot, Pixie boot, provision the whole laptop, start to put it together. There's a 2 to 3 day gap, which just doesn't work anymore. Bob or Anna or whoever we're talking about can go out to Best Buy, go buy a laptop that has Windows 10 Pro on it, come back, tell their admin, I got a Lenovo Pro. Great. You're all set. All you need is Wi-Fi. So what's going to happen is they're going to connect up an autopilot through GPO is going to automatically update that machine from Pro to Enterprise. It's going to push out GPOs. It's going to connect up with MDM. MDM at this point is saying, okay, who are you? Type in your corporate credentials. Type in your domain password, which is then going to finish this next set where it's now going to push down the apps that are important to Anna. It's going to give her Dynamics. It's going to give her Exchange. It's going to give her her expense app. And what's really important, leveraging UEV, which used to be part of MDOT but is now part of Windows, there is the user's browser favorites. It is the picture of their grandkids or cats or whatever that person likes, because we all know as IT admins, when the end user does not see their desktop picture, they're unhappy, and that transition has not fully happened. In addition, with OneDrive and ADOL, we're going to now see OneDrive automatically configured, no input from the end user. We're going to see files on demand pop up, and the moment they log into Outlook, there is all their email. Because what's important to a user? I want to see all the files on my desktop, I want to see all my email, and I want to see all the files in my machine. So the device is now done. We can see there is Dynamics, there's Expense, there is all of the Office apps ready to go as soon as they click Outlook, and there's Files on Demand. Files on Demand is now configured, ready to go and kicked in. So let's take a little bit deeper look. We're going to go in now, and the first thing you're going to see is Anna has been fully configured. She's domain joined. She's set. When we take a look at our MDM, our Azure controls, we can go in and we can see there's the experience, updates, the apps that were made a part of this, everything registered appropriately. And again, this device has never touched a corporate network. The personal settings are here. And we're going to go in and see that this device, because that's a Windows 10 feature, the ability to upgrade from Pro to Enterprise is there. So we can go in and see the Enterprise license was activated. The machine is on Windows 10 Enterprise. And now we're going to go into our Finder, Explorer, click in. We see there's OneDrive fully configured. We see there's the file on the desktop has been moved. There's all the files. And when we take a look in Pictures, there are all the thumbnails ready to go. Exactly what your users have been looking for. How long have we been waiting for something like this for our end users? I encourage you this week to take a look at Autopilot, take a look at some of the great things that we're doing around that and how we have made it easier and how to include OneDrive so that your users get everything important to that. With that, we want to talk about some of the great new sharing functionality that we've been talking about. So we're going to bring up Raphael to walk us through some of the new sharing stuff.
Thanks, Steven.
You are welcome. You're good to go.
Yeah, I'm good to go. Thanks, Steven. So one of the core uses of OneDrive is to share and collaborate with people inside and outside of your organization. We've made many improvements in this area over the last year, and in the next few minutes, I want to show you some of the new capabilities we're introducing. The first feature I want to show you is how we've made it easy to securely share files and folders with people outside of your organization, even if they don't use Office 365 or have a Microsoft account or MSA. So in this scenario, I'm playing the part of a Contoso travel employee, and one of the projects I've been working on is to renew partnerships with major airlines around the world. And so what I have to do right now is I have to share the sales document with someone from Fabricam Airlines. And so all I have to do is select the file and hit share. From here, I can see that by default, the link I'll be sending is a shareable link. It'll work for anyone with the link. This is always the easiest way to share because anyone with the link can open it without having to go through any additional process. The issue here, though, is that our sales data isn't public, And so I want to share in a secure way where recipients have to prove that they're, where people who open the link have to prove that they're intended recipients that I sent the link to. And so all I need to do is change the link settings and say, I only want it to work for specific people. So I select specific people, I'll hit apply, and I'll just type in Larry at fabricamairlines.com. So I'll select him, and I'll hit send. What this does is it sends a secure link to Larry that only works for him. And like Jason mentioned, even though I did this from my Windows File Explorer, I could have done exactly the same thing, following the same steps on Mac OS, on Office, and on the web using any browser. So now I want to go ahead and show you what it looks like for the recipient. So I'll go ahead and I'll log into Fabricam Airlines email. And the first thing you'll notice is that even though Contoso Travel is using Office 365, Fabricam Airlines is actually using G Suite instead. And so here I see the link that the email that just arrived, and so I'll go ahead and I'll click on the link inside of it. Now, because this is a secure link, like I mentioned, I do have to prove that I'm one of the intended recipients. But I don't have to create an account to do this. I don't have to remember yet another password or manage a wide array of accounts across different web services. Instead, I can just go back to my email and copy this code that just got sent to me. This code can only be used once, and it expires after 15 minutes. Another thing I can do is I can specify that I want to be kept signed in. This way, I can come back to this document or any other files and folders in this organization without having to enter a new code every single time. So that's it. So I'll hit verify, and I'll instantly get taken to this document that got securely shared with me. Another feature that we're adding is the capability for you admins in the crowd to specify that you want these recipients to have to continuously re-verify their email and have to enter a new code every single time. And so this way, if a recipient ever loses access to their email account, for example, like if their employment status changes, then they also lose access to all of the previously shared files and folders in your organization. So while external sharing is a really important scenario, sharing inside of your organization is typically a more common need. For example, last week, I shared a folder with some of my colleagues, and later today, I have a meeting to go over that project. And so as part of preparing myself for that meeting, what I'd like to do is see which of my colleagues have viewed the files that I shared with them. So last year, we introduced file analytics to OneDrive by allowing you to see file stats like trending usage and views on the phone. And this year, based on user voice feedback, I'm excited to announce that we're bringing file analytics to OneDrive Web, allowing you to see who has viewed your shared files, as well as how many views your files have in total. And so here I have the folder that I shared with my colleagues a week ago. And the first thing I want to point out is this icon up here. This signifies that I'm looking at a shared folder. This is really important in OneDrive because everything is private by default. And so now, whenever I see this icon, I know that I'm looking at a folder where everything in it, as well as anything I add to it, will be accessible by other people. The other thing I can do is I can now click on it, and I can see the full list of permissions on this folder. In this example, you can see that there's a link that only works for people in my organization, in Contoso Travel, and I can see that it got sent to the 4 colleagues that I sent it to last week. In this case, I already know the folder is shared, and what I'm trying to do is simply see which of my colleagues have been viewing the files that I shared with them. And so all I have to do is I can hover over a file, and I get this brand new file hover card. Using the file hover card, I can see that Stephen Rose was the last one to have modified the file. I see that it has 15 views, and it's popular with my colleagues. And it expands to show me the full list of people that have been viewing the file. And so in this example, you can see Jason, Stephen, Jeff, Omar have all been viewing this file. I can click to see details, and the new details pane opens up. From here, I can see a preview of the file, as well as, again, seeing that it has 15 views. Another thing I can do is I can view and apply labels to the file. So in this example, Contoso Travel has set up labels for OneDrive where files can be marked as finance or marketing, and depending on that, there's different policies that apply. So for example, if this were a finance document, I could say I could apply that label, and then it would automatically get deleted after 6 years. In this example, it's not a finance or a marketing document, so I don't have to apply any kind of label. I can scroll down, and I can see the activity that's been going on inside the file. So here, I can see that Jason and Omar have been commenting in the file. I can see that Jason has even been replying to Omar's comment. And I can see that Jeff Teeper, a key stakeholder in my meeting later this afternoon, also commented in the file. So if I wanted to come to my meeting extra prepared, I could open up the document, and I could read his comment, and I might be better prepared with any questions that he might ask me. So I just showed you some of the new capabilities that we're bringing to OneDrive for files and folders that you've shared. But a lot of the times, people share files and folders with you. And so many of you are familiar with our feature Shared With Me. But we've heard your feedback, and we've made Shared With Me faster, easier to use, and more reliable. So let's talk about how we've made it easier to use. The first thing you'll notice is that we now let you know when items got shared with you, as well as who shared them with you. We also let you sort and group by these two columns. And so, for example, I can go ahead and group by all of the different people that have been sharing items with me. I can collapse the list, and I can easily scroll, and I get this nice list of all the people that have been sharing files with me. And so I can scroll down, and I can see that Omar, for example, has shared a PowerPoint document and a Word document with me. I can also now use filters to further narrow down my results. And so I can apply filters based on the last modified time. So if I move this bar to the right, now I'm filtering to only seeing documents that have been modified in the last 30 days. I can also filter by file type, and I can filter by people. So if I, for example, I'm trying to find a folder that Melissa shared with me, and so I can just type in her name. She appears, I'll select her, and again, it'll filter down to only show me those files and folders that Melissa shared with me. In addition to these new capabilities, like I mentioned, we are also making Shared With Me more reliable by showing you files and folders for links which you've clicked on, as well as files and folders in other organizations where your guest accounts in those organizations are permissioned to. The last feature I want to show you is our OneDrive file previewer. Last year, we announced support for various Adobe file formats. And this year, I'm excited to announce that we're expanding support to include Adobe Illustrator formats, as well as 3D files, DICOM medical files, zip files, and more. In total, our OneDrive file previewer supports over 270 file types. And so this is a folder filled with a lot of various different file types. And so in this example, this is an Illustrator file. And I can tap Next, and then this will be a DICOM medical file. So again, these aren't regular pictures. They're not JPEGs. They're not PNGs. But OneDrive can still preview them. Like Jason mentioned, we also allow previewing zip files. So this is an example of a zip file. And when I select it, you can see that the previewer shows me all of the files in it. And I can choose individual items and download them if I wish. I don't have to download the entire zip file if I'm only interested in some of the files inside of it. What's more, if I have files on demand, I can see all of these same rich previews straight from File Explorer, even if I don't have the right programs installed on my computer to be able to generate those previews. So in this example, I have a folder synced to my OneDrive, or synced to my computer. And again, I can open up this Adobe Illustrator folder, and the previews will come down. And so these are Illustrator files, but I get previews generated from OneDrive. And in the same way, this is a folder filled with DICOM medical files. Great. So that was a quick sneak peek of all of the sharing and collaboration features that we're introducing this year.
Thanks
Back
a lot,
to you.
Raphael. All right, next I'd like to welcome to the stage Ahmed Garib, one of our program managers who focuses on mobile experiences. He's going to walk you through some of the new stuff coming to iOS and Android. Ahmed?
Hey. Thanks. Thanks, Jason. For those of you who have been following OneDrive since the very beginning, you know that having best-in-class mobile applications has always been at the heart of the product. We shipped on iOS 5 years ago, and since then, the way we work has gone through a complete transformation. You no longer are just working while you're in the office. You're being productive while you're traveling, when you're meeting with your customers, or even when you're grabbing your morning cup of coffee. We obsess over these scenarios, and here we are over 5 years since that debut with hundreds of millions of installs, 3 world-class applications, and millions of users who depend on us to get work done every single day. So I'm going to show you what's new, starting with Android. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Great. Up and running. Great.
It's Android.
Oh, whoops. All right, great. So I'm going to launch the OneDrive app. There we go. And first thing you'll notice is that same beautiful experience that Raphael showed us on the web is now available on your mobile device. Thanks to your feedback, we were able to create an experience that's simpler and looks great on every device. Your files and folders are clearer than ever before with large icons and beautiful previews. In addition, your metadata is even simpler, and at a glance, you can tell which files or folders are available offline, what's shared with you, when the last time a file was modified, what's new, and even what's trending. In addition, you let us know that users had a hard time always finding how to take actions on files or folders. Many didn't know you had to tap and hold on a folder to see the commands, and when they didn't know what some of these icons meant. So we've introduced a context menu that now shows you all the available commands on that file or folder. Not only that, but each command has a clear label, so there's no misunderstanding on what each one means. Also, last year, you let us know that while offlining files was nice, you wanted a little bit more. You wanted the ability to download an entire folder and have it available for you so you could use it at any time. You wanted changes to sync down to that device, and so that's what we did. If I tap Keep Offline, everything in my Documents folder will start to download. If I open it up, you'll notice they have the same icons that you would expect from files on files on demand. In addition, if I have folder redirection set up with my desktop, now anytime I create a file in my Documents folder, it'll instantly be downloaded to my device. You'll also notice we added a new tab bar at the bottom that makes your most important files one tap away. So whether it's my recent files, my shared files, or even my SharePoint sites, everything's right there. In addition, the context menu that I showed you earlier is available in every single one of these views, so you could offline pretty much anything. Now, we know a lot of you also have multiple OneDrive accounts, and we wanted to make it easier to switch between those accounts. So we added a new account switcher in the top left. And there, you'll notice all my signed-in accounts, and I can also add a new account. If I tap in to my second account, I'm instantly dropped into that account. Some of you will also notice that this account looks a little different. So based on your feedback that you're on a multi-year transition to the cloud, we wanted to help make that easier. So I'm happy to announce that starting today, we support SharePoint Server 2013 and 2016 on iOS and on Android. Great. So now I'm going to switch it up, hopefully, and jump over to the iPad. Great. Now, how many of you have iPhones or iPads deployed in your organization? Everyone. Surprised. With every release of iOS, we focus on taking advantage of the latest platform capabilities to make you more productive. I'm happy to say we're going to continue that trend this year. You might have noticed in June, Apple announced the Files app featuring OneDrive, and I'm happy to show you that and everything else that's new on OneDrive for iOS. So first, Like Raphael said, one of the core uses of OneDrive is to share and collaborate with those inside and outside your organization. So say Jason sent me a link. I'm on my morning commute, and I want to open it. I know, though, what's going to happen if I tap this link on my mobile device. I'll be taken to the mobile web browser. I'll have to sign in again. I'll go through a redirect. And then eventually, I'll be dropped into a mobile previewer. We think sharing and collaborating should be seamless and quick, so we wanted to fix this. So now, if I tap open, I'll be instantly directed to the OneDrive app, and we'll get a preview right there of my PowerPoint. Yeah. Great. Now, taking a step back, if I look at the files experience, you'll notice that same familiar experience we've shown you across our range of devices today. Not only that, though, but the experience takes advantage of the large real estate provided on the iPad. So your metadata spreads out, and it's easier than ever to sort. All I do is tap the date header or the name header, and it's instantly sorted using that metadata. Anyone who's used a PC or Mac will feel right at home on their iPad now. But we didn't stop at the UI. We wanted to make it easier to get content into OneDrive. So I'm going to open up this folder. And say one of my designers, Ryan, sends me an Adobe Illustrator file. I'm going to go over there. He wants me to review it, and I would love to, but I can't. I don't get a preview in the Mail app. There's no way for me to see it. I could install another application, figure out with my IT how to manage that application, but that's all pretty much a pain. Normally, I'll just have to wait till I get my computer, install Illustrator on there, and then I'll get to take a look at it. Wouldn't it be great if it was just as easy on my PC and if I had one application that can handle all my files? Well, now, with iOS 11, I can just tap and hold, drag this over, drop it, and deal with beta software. Let's do it again one more time. So, OK, let's make a new folder. There we go. We'll bring up the Mail app, take my blueprint, drop it in. There we go. The file will be instantly uploaded, and a preview will be generated. And then I can just click on the file, and there it is. My Adobe Illustrator file is right there. But it doesn't stop there. Like Raphael said, OneDrive leads the industry with over 270 file types previewable through our applications and through our website. So if I go back, you'll notice that I have that same medical DICOM image preview. I have those 3D files. And of course, we support Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and all the photos, videos that you love and store on OneDrive. Not only did we want to make it easier to move your digital content into OneDrive, we also wanted to make it easier to store or to digitize the world around you. So last year, we announced Scan. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Great. So I come up here, and I scan the first page. So before, you could just upload this. And you let us know that was great, but you wanted more. So this year, we added the ability to scan a second page. You can also rotate as many times as you like. Also, it looks like I missed, so I'm going to fix my cropping a little bit. And there we go. I can upload it. That file will be instantly converted to a PDF, and then I can open it, sign it, and share it with all my colleagues. And it's great. Lastly, you let us know that it's great that you can access your files from the OneDrive app, but you wanted to do more. You wanted to have access to all your OneDrive files, regardless of what app you were using. So that's where the Files app comes in. So I'm going to jump over to the Files app, go back. There we go. First thing you'll notice is that I not only have access to my OneDrive content, I also have access to my SharePoint content. That means if I'm in the Photos app or if I'm using a line of business application, I can save anything directly to SharePoint on my iPhone or on my iPad. In addition, if I tap in, you'll see all the files right there. And those industry-leading 270 previews are available all from the Files app. Also, since the Files app right now is being powered by OneDrive, you get all the benefits of EMS and Intune. So that means conditional access will be enforced, or that you can pass Intune policy directly here. Finally, not only do you get all the benefits of the OneDrive and Office 365 applications, you also get the benefits of being in the Files app. Meaning, let's say I wanted to store all my pictures in one location, even though they might be in OneDrive or in SharePoint. I could take my Pictures folder, drag it over. I'm going to put it under, I guess, Designs. I'll drop it in there, and then I'll go into Designs. And there it is. My Pictures folder is right there. So now I can tag content regardless of where it lives. So if I go to my patient MRIs, they're all there. My blueprints are right there as well. Finally, let's say there's a folder that I use a ton in one of my other line of business applications. I can take that folder, drag it over, put it as a favorite, and now I have access to that file, whether I'm in Adobe or any other application, at just one tap away. And so that's just a sneak peek. That's what's new on iOS and Android. We have plenty more at the booth, and I'll throw it back to Jason. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. I was in the back looking at Twitter, and somebody said, hey, when is that Adolf thing going to be available? I did forget to announce that goes into preview this week. So one of the things that we heard quite a bit, sorry, jumping ahead, is Admin Center. People super happy that we're no longer using PowerShell, that we've actually moved to a full GUI-based Admin Center, but there are things that we needed to do to make it better. So I'm happy to announce 2 or 3 new features that are going to be coming. The first is you will now start to see in the next few weeks on our homepage, you'll be able to take a look at all of the active accounts, you'll be able to take a look at file activity, and all of the OneDrive Message Center all in one place, all together. That's something I know a lot of you, absolutely. And we heard back that sharing was still a little bit confusing when it came to setting rights and permissions. So what we've done is we've created a slider, least permissive to most permissive, and you can sort of move up and down to find that perfect area from we want to allow everybody to share to we really want to restrict it and bring it down. So we're going to be continually refining this, and again, this is really based on your feedback. I'm going to bring Jason back up because we want to talk a little bit about what's next. Jason?
Thanks, Stephen.
Why don't you kind of walk us through what's next for Files on Demand?
Sure. So those were some pretty awesome demos, I got to say.
Yeah, they did a great job.
Ahmed
A big
and
hand
Raphael did a great
for
job.
Raphael and Ahmed.
Yeah. So in Files on Demand, one of the core ideas we had was separating the access to your files, exposing them in interesting and useful ways, from storing them locally, so that we could get back some of that magic you might remember from when we all just only used file shares, and Explorer just worked against it, and I didn't have to bring those files down just to rename them. That separation enables us to have a lot of other interesting ideas come to the fore. For example, when you think about the verbs and commands that show up, when Raphael shared from Explorer, he doesn't have to have those files synced at all. He can right-click on any of those files, whether they're on his machine or not, and share them. The same with the previews. The previews don't require the file to be materialized on disk. We're able to take the intelligence of the cloud, where it's created those previews, and send them out to any endpoint. We think there are other features that will come up in interesting and exciting ways here. For example, when we see the sharing state on something, being able to browse through all your folders in Explorer and immediately see something is shared, see someone's editing something, there's interesting activity for it, is a clear power of being able to have files on demand. In addition, you want to transition? Oh, great. We think this applies in VDI scenarios. Now today, actually, how many of you are deploying VDI? Okay, great. Quite a few, good. We're starting to see that become more and more interesting as a solution. And today we have 2 great solutions for actually deploying with OneDrive. The first is our full-featured modern web experience that works in any web browser. It gives you access to all of the capabilities in OneDrive. But in addition, for those of you using Windows 10, we have the Windows Universal Windows app. And what that allows us to do with OneDrive is browse all of those experiences just like on the iPad, as you just saw, or on a mobile phone. But that's not enough. We know that File Explorer, the file system access, is crucial to having a great experience. So as you think about what you'll do with deploying VDI and using that, it's clear that Files on Demand has a role to play. Our recommendation on that and thinking going forward is to get ready to deploy the Windows 10 File Creators Update. That'll give you access to that experience and start to prepare for how that world will work in your network and organization.
Security. We talked a little bit earlier about how incredibly important security is. Today, Our information is encrypted, at rest, in motion. We meet more than all of the compliances, including around HIPAA, ISO, SOX, et cetera. But one of the things we heard was the future's changing. It's not just about file corruption. It's not just about malware. We're concerned about things like ransomware. We want to make it easier when these things hit our company. We had several companies who we partner with very, very deeply who got hit by some of these attacks and came to us and said, how can we make this a better, easier experience? And we agree. So keeping your data safe is key. Your files are at the heart of your business, and losing content, disruption, costs money, and it's just unacceptable. So we are happy to announce that we will be releasing before the end of the year a new feature called Files Restore. This is going to allow your users self-service access to be able to restore any file from any point in time within the past 30 days. Here's how this feature will work. So your user themselves, they'll be able to go in. They can take a look at all of their files. They can either say, show me today, show me last week. They can use a slider. They'll see all of their files there. They'll be able to click and choose the files that they want to pick. They can then choose Restore. It'll say, are you sure you want to do this? Because you may have done an accidental deletion of 1,800 files. Just making sure you're aware. You say, yep, I absolutely want to, and we are good to go. That is Files Restore, which will come to OneDrive before the end of the year. Good stuff? Awesome. We've had so many great customers come to OneDrive that have left shared drives, that have moved away from our competitors saying, you've got a great product now. You guys have done a lot of great work. Lowe's, DBS, Shire. But it comes down to working with you folks and listening to you folks. So it's at this point, I want to go ahead and call up Justin Litherland. Justin is with Lowe's. He is their Vice President of IT for Stores. Lowe's was founded in 1946. They have over 23, almost 2,400 stores in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Over 290,000 employees and 17 million customers a day. So we're supposed to have another mic up here, but I'm going to give you mine. And if I have to, I'll talk sexily into Jason's lapel. Big hand for Justin. All right, Justin, first question for you is tell us about your OneDrive rollout, because you guys are really rolling this thing out, getting it out to your users, and why? It doesn't seem like Lowe's is a store that needs to give everybody OneDrive access.
So yeah, thanks for having me. With a worldwide workforce, certainly continental North America, collaboration's a big piece of this for us, right? So we basically deployed across the chain. Everybody got Exchange, OneDrive for Business, and Skype for Business as well. So we had a lot of NAS devices in all of our stores across continental North America that were just costing us a lot to maintain and look after. We still use them for different things, but for collaboration, it was really within the store. Today, they can share files not only in their store, in their market, in their region, but across the country and across the different states. From a productivity and efficiency play, it's been a huge win for us.
How hard has it been to deploy OneDrive and get it out to your users?
Actually, the stores haven't really had this much capability before, so they didn't really have anything. So it was actually relatively easy to deploy. Used the fast track team and a great team at Lowe's who helped deploy it as quickly as we did. We started our journey in January of this year, and we'll wrap up at the end of next week.
Awesome. How are they using it? Like, what type of stuff are they storing, using?
So in the field, we're using it for our store associates to collaborate with our customers. Customers will send a picture of a kitchen that they really like from a magazine. Hey, could you mock this up in the CAD system, whatever, and then we can collaborate. So externally with our customers for that. Internally, we have a lot of meetings in the field. The field teams love it because they just drop their files in and co-author and co-create through their OneDrive capabilities.
So you guys using desktop, Macs? Are you using a combination of mobile devices? How are they connecting to all of this?
So a lot of them vary, right? Mobile devices, we've got any different flavor of those. We've got shared devices in the store, dedicated devices in the store, running multiple different OSs. But we're using it across the whole platform, and it's working really well.
Are you finding the ubiquity that it's easy for people to move back and forth between these different platforms now?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely helping. Engagement's definitely gone up. They feel empowered to say yes more often, right? I think it's been a really, really good experience for everybody. And I think one of the biggest things from a field perspective is, you know, those handwritten notes are no longer, right? They're using their iPads and OneNote saved in their OneDrive accounts, and that syncs across all their devices. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest wins that we got out of this.
How are you getting your end users on board? Because training's always tough. You know, we were using a shared drive, now we're going to this. So what are some of the ways that you're helping your end users to be able to get up to speed and leverage the technology?
So we, through the Fast Track team, they gave us a bunch of videos and PowerPoints that we could put out there on a wiki and a blog that everybody could get to once we migrated everybody. So really encouraging them. We haven't really put too much governance over it right now, really just to see what they're going to do to it. And it'd be great to see what we can do with these new features you guys have announced.
Well, and you guys are also doing SharePoint as part of this as well. So how is OneDrive and SharePoint playing a role in how you are transforming your business and empowering your employees?
So we've had SharePoint in the corporate office for a while, and we're in the process of rolling that out to our stores. So we're about 200 and so stores right now. We'll be done by the end of the year, but really focusing on a place where you can store those personal files in your OneDrive, right, versus the collaborative files on the SharePoint that you want everybody to use and see. So really making sure that we can collaborate way better with the global workforce that we've got.
Any advice you have for folks out there that are looking to roll out?
I would certainly say leverage the Fast Track to do your pre-work, and then we had a great team on premise. Many of them are actually here in the crowd, and they did a tremendous job of migrating a lot of this data, and it's made a world of difference. I would tell you it's very empowering for your employees to leverage this capability, and it's been a huge success for us.
Awesome. And you'll be hanging out by the OneDrive booth later on today if folks have any questions for you.
I will certainly stop by.
That would be great. Ladies and gentlemen, big hand for Justin Litherland from Lowe's.
Thanks, guys.
So much.
Thank you.
And we have lots more customer stories like that on our customer page. So we've been working hard. Over 300,000 organizations currently using OneDrive and SharePoint. That's over 85% of the Fortune 500, and we are also one of the top-rated mobile apps in the App Store. But, Jason?
Sure. So when you think about what the call to action is, the first one is simple. Turn on OneDrive. We've seen incredible growth over the last year alone, but it's one thing where we've noticed that as you start to get that toehold, as you get users in your organizations beginning to use OneDrive, especially across multiple endpoints, like on a PC and their phone, the magic really starts to explode, and they find ways to connect with others that they hadn't done before. They become aware of scenarios they simply didn't think about needing before. And so that's kind of a simple call to action, which is to begin those pilots as soon as you can. When you do that, it enables your users to tell you about the value that you're getting out of it. Second, sign up first release. What this enables you to do is with your tenant, you can actually get early access to bits before we roll them out to the general populace. This helps us kind of both ways. You get a heads up and new opportunities to see the experiences in action before they roll out for everyone you know. In addition, you get to give us feedback that we are so incredibly helpful for. It helps us to make the product better, and it helps us make sure that we're making the right decisions. And then finally, definitely leverage your user voice. We listen to our user voice every month. We spend time across design, research, engineering, and program management, understanding what kind of feedback we're getting, the new ideas, what's popping and trending, and what are the kind of scenarios and depth commentary we get that helps inform our roadmap and thinking in the product. We spend a lot of time listening, and I know a lot of our competitors browse the site too, so they would thank you as well. And it's great to get that feedback into our system.
Absolutely. We want to make sure we leave a little bit of time for questions. But there are 3 key resources. Number 1 is OneDrive.com/business, where you will go ahead and get our latest information, access to our Gartner reports, all of the different tools that we've talked to. Our techcommunity.microsoft.com/OneDrive is our blog. Today I'll be posting a great interview with Jeff Tieper in a few hours. Also, all of the features we talked about here are listed in the current blog post, so if you missed one, you can go back, you can read the write-up. And of course, User Voice, OneDrive.uservoice.com, for you to be able to go in, upvote, downvote, or add new features. And what's great is I've sat in those meetings. Monthly, we'll go in, we'll take a look, and once we have 100 votes for something, we will tell you, yes, we're considering it, we're going to do it, it's done, it's not, here's why, and we'll really work very hard to do that. A few sessions this week you want to be aware of. The Manage and Secure OneDrive Desktop Mobile is a great one. The Deploy OneDrive Across Devices, that's Tony East, Patricia Hendricks, and their team, and they will go through the ADOL scenario that I talked about, that autopilot scenario. They'll be covering that, as well as Michael Niehouse's sessions. So with the last 15 minutes, we want to go ahead, and if anybody has any question, we have microphones out there. Come on up, and we'll be happy to answer them. Don't be shy. You know you have questions.
Thank you so much. Really great stuff. We really appreciate your work about all of these features. Just
Thank
a
you.
question about the file recovery tool, and how is this different from the recycle bin in the OneDrive of the site collection, which is
Sure.
180 days essentially?
Good question.
It's a great question. So what is the difference between the recycle bin and our file restore functionality? Recycle bin continues to work as is. It's an end user experience that's simple and direct for saying, oops, I meant to get that thing back, and it provides that first level capability. File restore gives you a little more of a detailed experience in deciding that there was an event or a moment in time I want to restore the entire set of my OneDrive to. So you can think of them as kind of cherry picking a specific file you want to restore at a specific time versus being able to roll back a whole set at a given moment for your OneDrive.
Great. Over here.
In the education realm, we often have multiple groups with multiple different needs, multiple different regulation compliances, and multiple missions, including at my university, a mission to share everything with everyone, collaborate, and HIPAA regulations, hospital data, everything. So far, to my knowledge, everything right now is one giant slider of in OneDrive you can do this or not, or you can do this or not. In the new slider technology, is there any way I can target this in any way?
You can actually, through a series of GPOs, you can actually go in and say, these people are not allowed to share. They're not allowed to share externally. So you can say, we're going to make HR very restrictive or very permissive versus this group. We have interns. We don't want them. So again, inside of the Office 365 admin, you have DLP, you have Sandbox, you have GPO permissions that you can use. So the goal is always, unlike some of our competitors, which they let everybody sort of pick what they want to do, you as IT can set a box that could be based on a person, a group, an OU. This is what that group is allowed to do, and then allow them how much room within that and how much permission you're going to give them. So you'll see those in there. Check out our blog. I have a great blog post on how to set those GPO permissions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over here.
So we are using folder redirection for documents, desktop, favorites, and links as well.
Yep.
Do you recommend using OneDrive in parallel to that, or what's your recommendation? And if migrating from documents to OneDrive, perhaps, what to do with favorites and links?
Great question. So number one, by doing folder redirection across documents, which a lot of our customers are doing, then makes it easier because users, then they just go, I'm saving it to my desktop, I'm saving it to my documents, but really what's happening is it's going into OneDrive. What is great is when you do move to RS3 and get to files on demand, everything is going to be there and ready to go. Windows 10 Spring Edition, the anniversary, the Spring Edition, brought UEV, User Experience Virtualization, which was part of MDOP as a free tool as part of Windows 10 Enterprise. UEV is meant to basically save all of your customizations to your device, and it's stored in servers. So everything from bookmarks to favorites to background patterns to settings in Adobe Acrobat, settings across browsers. It will store those, hold those. When you move to the new device, it'll move it over. So we absolutely recommend, I think that's great to move to folder redirection, so that way your users are saving everything. When they go to their mobile device, it's there. You're getting rid of share drive, and it sets you up really beautifully for files on demand to be able to bring that in later.
One small additional point. So UEV was understood at me personally to be an on-prem solution. What will be the solution for those folders regarding the cloud?
There's support for that also in Azure, so you can use Azure the same way that you're using UEV.
Will this be ESR?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Over here.
One of the challenges we have in migrating to OneDrive and SharePoint is Microsoft Access. We have thousands of Microsoft Access files. What's your recommended strategy for that, and is there anything in the future plans for supporting them in OneDrive?
That's a great question. I'm actually not sure what the right answer is for it. So the question is, I've got thousands and thousands of Access database files, and they're always in contention because they're being used and accessed, right? Which makes it difficult for sync and for any other product to work with those files. That's something we probably should answer at the booth and find an expert for what our migration story is. That's a really good one.
Okay.
Yeah, stop by our booth for that one. We'll try to find somebody. All the way down on the end. I realize I've been ignoring the end. Sorry.
Yes. So regarding external sharing, I love the idea that in the new SharePoint sites, people can view but not download or print. Is that also available in OneDrive?
Yes.
And then for external users, our CISO doesn't want them to be able to reshare files. Is that available?
The reshare functionality is in there. The other one requires Intune, but you'll see if you go into the OneDrive Admin Center, third tab for sharing, you'll see do not allow users to print, do not allow users to reshare. All of that is in the Admin Center today. Some of it may require MDM or Windows Intune to be able to do, but it is there. Absolutely. All the way over here.
Yes, my company is in legal, and we have some unique needs involving ethical walls, where, like, let's say that you work for Coke. You don't want any of your files to be accessible to people who work for Pepsi and vice versa. What functionality is planned for OneDrive that would let you tag documents with metadata, you know, say the client matter number, so that people who are working on a particular matter don't have access to something else?
Okay.
How could that be managed centrally?
I know some of that. I know Navjot is probably going to be our best person. There's
about
two
DLP.
things. Number one, you can pick a whitelist or blacklist of domains that users can share with. So you could say Pepsi is on the blacklist and they cannot share. We support the coding of high business impact, low business impact. So Raphael showed where you can actually tag it. Again, the DLP policies, the same policies that you're using for Exchange and that you're using for SharePoint, extend out to OneDrive. To go deeper than that, I'll invite you to our booth and we'll get you with our security folks and go a little bit deeper.
Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Is there a different deployment schedule for government cloud?
I don't know.
That's a great
There is. I don't know what the schedule is, but usually there is. Again, stop by. We'll get you with one of our government cloud specialists. Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what's stopped our company so far from using OneDrive is the availability of who has access to the keys, to the encryption keys.
Yeah.
I know you have bring your own key type functionality.
Yeah.
That's really the determining factor for us. Can you tell a little bit more about the schedule for that? You said it was coming.
It has been in preview. It has been in preview, so we have customers testing it. The idea behind that, for those of you not familiar, is that if you decide to pull out of Microsoft's cloud, you take that key with you. We no longer can access and cannot access any of that content. If you ask us, sorry, you own the key, you have that. I believe we're starting to roll that out in GA now or in the next few weeks. It will be, we
By end of
will
year.
go to the public rollout before the end of the year. It's been in private preview to date right now.
Do you have access to that key while it's in while it's in OneDrive, or are we the only holders of that key? That's kind of the big question. Is
You can say, I do not want Microsoft to hold a recovery key, which we can do, but be aware, if you lose your key or screw it up, we cannot help you.
Exactly.
So,
Perfect.
but
Thank
yes, you can, absolutely. All the way down on the end.
Yeah, hi, I really like that previewer feature.
Thanks.
Do you need an E1 or an E3 license to view project files?
Nope.
Oh, that's great.
It is available. That'll be on our consumer SKU and our business SKU. We support, do we support Project right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Project, Visio, all Adobe formats. There's a full list on my blog that we have, DICOM, and we are getting very, very close to Autodesk. So we're working with them. We'll be announcing that in the next few weeks. But what's great is you can fully preview it. If you try to click it, it says, sorry, I don't have a file. But what's great is some of those are so large to be able to have a high-res file. And that's available in Explorer today. So if you go into Windows Explorer, you should be, into the browser, sorry. It's available in our browser view. If you go into the browser, you should be able to see those today.
One more comment. You guys
please.
talk about locking down copy and paste, and people can't do that. I can still print screen, though, right?
Yeah. There's something that happens at a Windows level, so there's some things that we can't do, but we're always looking, and that's one of the key things of going from Office 365 to Microsoft 365, is we have a much deeper integration with Windows, as you saw during the demo that we talked about. One of the big things about files on demand is, unlike some of the solutions our competitors are offering, it is deeply integrated into the operating system. For example, being able to see thumbnails, something you cannot do with our competitors, LinkedIn. You cannot go and search by a keyword and say, show me every picture, file, document that has that in it. You cannot do that from the desktop. So we're looking to get to do more of that integration, which will make that smarter, better, faster, and that's a big piece of it. So that's great feedback.
Thanks.
Thank you. All the way down here.
So two things. One's on the external collaborators. When we share files with them, they want to be able to download the files offline using the OneDrive Sync client, and they can't do that right now. So there's a lot of demand for that. And second, the photos feature for business as well as personal, it's available. For business, it's not.
We will be bringing photo upload to OneDrive for Business.
Yeah.
So that we will.
On the first one, I think you were saying that external users want to be able to have sync.
Right.
That's a great item. Would love to see that voted up on user voice.
So we've been voting for that.
Okay,
In fact,
good.
the entire World Bank has been voting for that, and we saw a lot of.
A lot of interest?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really good to know.
Okay, thanks.
We'll bring it back to the team. Awesome. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so OneNote documents don't really trigger a revision history in OneDrive. Will those still work once the file restore feature gets added?
Yeah, version history will be available. Yep.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
One of the mobile features that I've been looking for on the OneDrive for Business is camera upload, because I'm trying to kick out one of your competitors.
It's coming. Yeah, we just mentioned it.
Definitely hear that.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, we know that there are corporate managed devices, and you want to be able to say every picture you take just goes right in there, so it's coming.
Yeah, the other question is, now the OneDrive and OneDrive for Business were two different products at one point. Are you merging them with different feature sets that you turn on, or is it still going to be two different products?
They will still be two different products because people use it in the consumer. There are some companies who turn off OneDrive Consumer, don't allow it to be used on the device. But we do have people who say, I move in and out of both worlds and I want to be able to move things. So we're really leaving that up to customers on how they want to best manage that. But we're not going to stop doing that. But we are going to look to find more ways like we've done in mobile to make it easier to switch between those and treat those like one client.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. All the way down at the end.
So is there any ability to backport the files on demand feature to down-level clients?
Is there an ability to download?
So you're saying
backport?
So
bring
you're,
it down
let me
level?
rephrase that. Will we bring that to Windows 7?
Yes.
We have no plans at this time. Yeah, it's
deeply
support-
integrated in
It's
the
out
way
of
we built it with
mainstream
Windows.
support at this point. We're already into extended support. It would require a lot of, as I said, it has deep integration into the operating system, so it would take a lot of work for us to go ahead and do that. And at this point, that it's out of mainstream support, we don't see doing it. We really feel that the experience in Windows 10, there are so many things it brings to it, that it will create a great experience, and we're going to focus on continuing to bring that experience to Windows 10 at this time. Not the first person to ask it, so, but thanks. All the way down here.
Hi. So my question is, and I stopped by the booth about this, I don't know if there's future plans, but basically, I'm wanting to know your plans in terms of syncing data while my computer or server, whichever, is not logged in. So basically, you know, someone's sharing a folder with me, it contains video files, my computer is on the network, I'm not signed in, but when he dumps those files, it'll just automatically just download. So when I get to work in the morning, I sign in, it's, you know, ready.
Yes. So the scenario is essentially you're signing out of your device frequently enough that OneDrive isn't running, and you'd love for OneDrive to be running in the background as a system service, perhaps, and
Yes.
syncing those files down. Not something we're doing currently, but it's a good piece of feedback. Another one that would be great to have on user voice.
Okay, so user voice it is. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Yes, hi. We have OneDrive deployed for all of our employees, almost all of our employees, and we have a hybrid scenario.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So good presentation, by the way. I really appreciated the bullet point on information rights management, digital rights management. We got everything there. We've put our key up in Azure RMS. We have our on-prem stuff referencing with connector servers out there to it. We had to stop short of turning it on in the tenant because we realized the OneDrive Next-Gen Sync client had some issues with it. Was big red, don't use this right now, and then they put a hot fix out to fix it, so now it's like in the read-only type state syncing a library. If you have a list or a library that has information rights management turned on,
yes,
we don't want to encourage people to use that, and people could turn it on their OneDrive and it caused some issues. So we saw that was being deployed, and we're kind of in the state now where that quasi the read-only type caveat applies to us.
We should get you into our preview program, which would allow you to start playing it now.
That'd be great, because we have it 50% deployed, and we want to hit that button.
Come see us after the session,
Yeah,
or come to the
absolutely.
booth. We'll connect you with the right people.
Great,
We have
thank
a
you so
bunch of
much.
large customers in preview right now as part of a preview tenant, so we can move into that so you could start to test it, and then as we continue to get it into mainstream by the end of the year, you'll be good.
That'd be awesome. Our risk folks will be very happy. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Your VDI support, could you elaborate on that just a little further?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The VDI enhancements you mentioned?
Sure. So really that's looking forward to the future and kind of acknowledging that we're starting to hear more and more about VDI scenarios. You know, I think a couple of years ago at the first Ignite, we asked about it, and there wasn't much in the room.
Yeah.
But now it's something that we hear about more often. And so we think this is a killer kind of capability to provide. We focused to date on our web experience and on our universal Windows app experience, which both work great in VDI scenarios. But we know that folks want more access from Win32 apps and such. And so we're spending time thinking about it. We don't have specifics to announce or things to share, but it's something we're aware of.
Okay, so nothing concrete, no dates or anything. Nothing I can plan around.
No, we realize it's a priority. We're hearing it from more and more customers, so we will make it an engineering focus this year and stand on this stage next year and hand you a solution that is fully baked, ready to go. We'll meet you.
Would love to hear from you at the booth about specifics of the things you want and the capabilities you want to enable.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All the way down.
My question is about the mobile clients. We have physicians that work for multiple hospital systems, and with the app containerization that encrypts that data, is that per account? So if they work for multiple hospital systems and each one is trying to protect that data, and they're logged into that mobile client with multiple accounts, how will that work?
That's a really good question. I'm looking to my mobile team here. We do it per account, right? Yes. But a device can be managed by only one policy provider, so one MDM provider, for example.
Okay, so they would conflict then.
So you'd be able to have multiple accounts. That the data is sealed and separate, but the device itself, Apple and Android don't allow the opportunity to have them managed by different people, and so that you'd still have to choose who is the device owner and manager.
Thank you.
Thank you. Got time for about 2 more.
Hey guys, in a SharePoint site, if you save a URL, like a link, it saves as an ASPX file. When you sync that in the OneDrive sync client, it hangs the sync client unless you have like extended permissions like beyond contribute. Is that something that you guys are planning to address?
Yeah, that sounds like one of the areas we're knocking off. Definitely come by our booth today, because it'd be great to talk a bit about the specific case and make sure that we're going for it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
We'll do your question, then we'll have to wrap it up, but you can stop by the booth or catch us after the session. Yes, sir.
Thank you. We're new to this whole OneDrive rollout, and with the admin center, the file restore, and actually the offboarding agent within the new admin console, is there any way to kind of put a person's OneDrive on like a litigation hold, because people being people, they'll delete everything and then leave the company? Because we're trying to transition from a competing product to OneDrive to take care of that for us.
Customer lockbox, all that sort of, again, all the features that are available in Exchange, because you can do that in Exchange, extend out to SharePoint and OneDrive. They're all part of the Office 365, so DLP, all that stuff. So you could do lockbox for that customer. You can say they cannot delete anything. It has to be held. These are the retention policies. It's in, matter of fact, when you go in to create the policy, you'll see if you go to advanced, it'll say Exchange, SharePoint, and OneDrive. So you can just literally click a button and extend that out across all of those, because all of those are share endpoints. Exchange, OneDrive, and SharePoint are all ways that, and the 3 ways that a user would share data. So all of those have to be managed the same way.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. Last question.
All right, lucky last. So we're at the very tail end of moving all of our users to OneDrive. Working pretty well. The one pain point, telemetry on sync health. On the PC. When's that coming, or what's
this is a common ask, which is, hey, as I'm rolling out the sync client, I want to know, how's it doing? Where's it at? Who's hitting an error? So there's a session tomorrow that Tony and Pat are doing. They'll talk a little bit about that, and you can come by the booth as well. It's something we're spending a lot of time on, making sure we can find the ways to provide the right reporting and capabilities for you, so that's useful and productive for you to know about what's going on with sync clients.
The new graph you saw in the admin console is the first step. So we'll continue to build on that, and if you want, you can beat up on Randy over here and tell him you want it, and he'll run away from you and give you more info. Thanks, everyone, for showing up.
Thanks a lot so much.
Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks so much.